Now, Mayor-elect Eric Adams has named David Banks the next New York City Schools Chancellor.
That's right. Both have really talked about their desire to transform the nation's largest school system to better serve the youth of New York. The incoming chancellor joining us now on the PIX11 Morning News. So, Mr. Banks, good to have you here. Congratulations, by the way, on being named the new chancellor. How does it feel?
It feels great. It's very exciting. I'm excited on behalf of all of the young people and their families, and I'm just anxious to get to work.
Yeah, well, you're from Brooklyn. You've been a student in New York City schools, a principal in a New York City school. And knowing that, I'm curious what your opinion is on the state of our school system, especially after Mayor-elect Adams called the DOE the greatest embarrassment of our city. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think what the mayor-elect really was strongly suggesting was that any agency that has a $38 billion annual budget, now think about that. We spend $38 billion of taxpayers' money every single year, and yet we have 65% of Black and brown children who never achieve proficiency in the New York City Department of Education. That should not be, that should be outrageous. It's a betrayal, and I think that's what he's referencing, and in that regard, I absolutely support him.
You know, and for the record, both of my parents are school teachers. And so I'm kind of steeped in this world of education that my parents have always talked about it. Every day I come home, they're talking about it and the ways they can really improve on teaching the youth, right? Looking for new ways to do so. So you don't have exactly what you're talking about right there. So what are some immediate priorities to address that 65% who aren't proficient in reading? How do you change that?
You know, that's such a great question, Dan. And one of the first things that we're doing is we're talking to people like your parents, people who are actually in the schools themselves. That's where the answers really are. There are so many issues and challenges that we face and problems, but the people who can really correct them and who have the best answers work in our schools. So I'll give you one example that has come up over and over again. For the last 25 years in the New York City schools, we've been teaching reading through something that we call balanced literacy. It's an approach to how you teach reading. But overwhelmingly, the research is showing us that it has not worked. I think most of us probably grew up through a phonetic approach to the teaching of reading. Yeah. And somehow or another over the years, we got away from that. That's simply an example of something that we could do that would fundamentally change literacy and how we're even teaching reading to all of our babies.
My gosh, I'm hearing my echoes of my teachers being like, did you do we have phonics homework?
Oh, clearly, yeah, clearly there's a need for special learning programs. So I'm curious where you stand on the gifted and talented program, especially since the current mayor wants to get rid of it. How do you feel?
Well, I will tell you that, you know, we're certainly not going to get rid of it. We're going to make some changes to it, but more importantly, we're going to expand it. Again, we're listening to what the people in the communities are saying in our schools across the city. Our parents, our community leaders, they're not asking us to get rid of it. They're simply saying, we know that there's some changes that need to be made. I don't know that we need to be determining someone's gifts and talents at 4 years old when they take a single exam. So things like that will look to change. However, we want to expand gifted and talented programs all over the city, not eliminate it because there have been challenges with the way that it's currently constructed and has been rolled out.
Yeah, and that brings me to this topic of where do you stand on entrance tests, specifically for specialized high schools, right? I mean, I was never a good standardized test taker, and so I've always been to look at the totality of a whole student. Where do you stand on this issue?
You know, again, I'm working very closely with the mayor-elect. We talk about these issues all the time. Some of these we'll be talking more about once we actually get in office. We're not there just yet. But we do fundamentally believe that there's no one exam that should just determine a student's fate. But that being said, our goal is not to dismantle the specialized high schools. We want to, again, expand it. The mayor-elect has said he wants to open even more specialized high schools. And those schools may have an entirely different set of admissions criteria than the ones that we're currently looking at. And so it's all on the table for us. But I think the message to the parents and the community is that this is not an administration that is going to gut these programs. We're going to look to make the changes that we need to make that make sense. But more importantly, we want to expand it. We want to build more quality schools. So beyond even specialized schools, every parent just wants a great school in their neighborhood for their children to go to, and that's what we're going to be committed to.
Yeah, so you're looking at expanding, right? Having some more schools in different areas. I know charter schools is a big topic, as well as staffing for these new buildings and these new places. And then I've also heard you talk about expanding the school day and looking at the weekend as well. Where would you get all the staff?
Well, that's why you've got to invoke the village. And so when we talk about Saturdays or summertime or extended days, we're not necessarily saying we're looking to mandate that all New York City school teachers are going to have to do all this work. Quite to the contrary. There are community-based organizations all across the city who have been doing work like this for a long time. Generally, they've been working in isolation. So we want to connect them. We want to make sure that we're organizing them for real impact and get all of those community-based organizations fully involved in the school system, and particularly in the areas that need it the most. So, you know, again, to be continued. We've got to continue to put all this together once I get there.
Yeah.
Of course, of course. Let's talk about another concern that a lot of parents have, and that's violence in the schools. Well, students have that same concern too. So should there be more metal detectors possibly in New York City schools?
I don't know that metal detectors are the answer for increasing safety for our children. You know, we've seen just a rash of children, you know, bringing weapons to schools. But what we've been finding out is that the weapons have not really been used in schools. There's not been a rash of actual extra violence going on inside the schools. But the reason that these weapons are being brought up because our kids are afraid of what's happening once they leave school.
Yeah.
You see, and that's been the biggest challenge. The increase of guns on the streets has put children in a position where they are very fearful for their own safety. And that's the reason why they've been bringing these weapons. So that's why it's got to be a very comprehensive approach. And that's what the mayor-elect has been talking about. The police department working very closely with the Department of Education so that we're providing a level of safety in our schools as well as outside of our schools.
Yeah, and you know, and that brings us right to the next topic of school safety agents. There's been a lot of talk of whether it should be under the Department of Education or under the purview of the NYPD. What do you think?
You know, it's interesting. You know, I don't know if most of your listeners would even know. I was a school safety agent when I started my career.
So you know more better than anybody.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do have experience there. And I worked at Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn. And I will tell you, if you speak to most school teachers and principals, they will tell you that school safety officers are invaluable and they're every bit as much of a part of the culture of the school as the teachers are. That's really who they are. Overwhelmingly, they're Black and Latino, and they're women, and they're part of the culture of our schools. And so, if you ask them, they would tell you that the training and the support that they get from the police department has been a greater source of support than what they got when they worked under the Department of Education. So again, these are all the issues that we're going to look at. We're going to try to make the best decision possible that works for all of our children to make sure that they not only are safe, but that they feel safe. It's critically important.
Right.
Another safety concern, we're talking about COVID. I mean, we're still in the middle of this pandemic. So would you support a COVID vaccine mandate for New York City school students?
Ultimately, that will be at the direction of the the mayor-elect once he in fact becomes the mayor. We certainly have to pay attention to what all the public health officials are the kind of guidance that they're providing for us. But again, the number one thing to know is that we want our children and our teachers and everybody that works in our schools to be safe. That is paramount. And if the best way to get there is a mandate, then that's what we'll do. If there are other ways that we can do it, we'll work around it. Nobody wants to wear a mask all day. I know I certainly don't. Yeah. But we do these things because we have to ensure everyone's safety.
Understood. We are simply out of time. I did ask Mayor-elect Adams in one of my previous interviews what his thoughts were on snow days. Now that kind of remote learning is a thing. He said he doesn't plan on bringing them back. I just want to know, are you guys in alignment on this very, very important issue of snow days?
You know, there was nothing better than snow days when I was
I know. That's why we're asking.
We all get it. And we're going to see how this plays out. But I will tell you that I think remote learning and the opportunity for our kids to be able to access their learning through technology is something that's going to be utilized not only on snow days, but on other days as well. The new technology is here. We've got to take full advantage of it.
Understood. Incoming Chancellor David Banks, good to have you here for your first appearance. You're welcome back. I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot over the next couple months.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.